I don't know about you, but I'm always afraid that when I watch a film that's praised by critics and audience alike, I'm gonna be that 1% that doesn't like that film, and luckily, that was definitely not the case for this film. You read the title right. I finally watched Obsession, and I'm gonna give you my spoiler-free thoughts, and then after that, I'll go over my spoiler-filled thoughts.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you!
After breaking the mysterious one-wish willow to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but soon discovers that some desires come at a dark, sinister price. This was a really good film. There are definitely a lot of good things about it. That being said, I don't think it's perfect. There are some things I wasn't a big fan of, but to be honest, it's mostly nitpicking. It's really small stuff that doesn't impact my rating that much. So I'll kind of start with my negative thoughts and then go into more of my mixed thoughts, and then I'll go into my more positive thoughts. But to be fair, there's not a lot of negative thoughts. One of my problems with this film was this specific cliche they used quite a bit. Now this problem is like a seriously small nitpick, like I said, but this film has that cliche of someone about to tell somebody else something really important before they get interrupted at the very second they're about to say that important thing. And it happens quite a lot, like a couple of times if I remember right. So that's a little problem I have with this film, but really, really small. I will say, and this is another small nitpick, I wish there was less sexual content, though it does make sense for the story. Like, I'll admit that. There honestly isn't that much sexual content. It's just something that I personally would have enjoyed if they didn't have, but it makes sense to the story, and I understand why it's there. This film also wasn't always the most engaging for me. There are a lot of static shots that, help give this feeling of unease during the film, but those shots could be a bit too long for me, and I'd be ready for it to switch over to something else. I'd be like, come on, hurry up. I'm ready for the next shot. I like the static shots, but sometimes they were a little too long, is what I'm really trying to get at. I will say I went into Obsession expecting it to be more disturbing than it was, and don't get me wrong, this film has some fairly disturbing moments, but I would say personally I wasn't that disturbed, though I could definitely understand why somebody else would be. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's more of an observation I had. Another observation I had is the fact that this film wasn't as gory as I was expecting. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. I would just say I went to this film expecting it to be more gory than it was, and it really wasn't. I would say there's like one or two scenes of graphic violence, but that's about it. Another thing I noticed that isn't necessarily bad or good, but an observation is that some parts of this film felt like That's a Bad Idea sketch, the YouTube channel, and that makes sense because it's written by Curry Barker, and Curry Barker and his friend run that channel. So it makes sense. And I think this actually is more of a positive for me. Another positive that I have on this film is the acting. I thought the acting was really well, especially Indy Navarrete, I think that's how you pronounce her last name, and Michael Johnston. I don't hear a lot of people talking about Michael Johnston's performance, and I actually thought it was pretty good. And also Indy Navarrete. I'm not trying to put her down or anything. I just think Michael Johnston's performance is also really good. I think both their performances are really well done. I was also surprised by Cooper Tomlinson and the rest of the cast's performances. I think they were all really good. I also really like the soundtrack in this film. There are some really good, uncomfortable, and stressful moments in this film. Definitely some scenes that will make you uncomfortable. I was like almost constantly wondering, is something bad going to happen to these characters? So overall, this film was a really well done film, and I'm super excited to see what Curry Barker does next. This film is streaming on Peacock, like I said earlier in the video, so if you haven't seen it already, definitely go and check it out. It is definitely worth a watch. Okay, with that said, I think it's time to go into my spoiler-filled thoughts, so big spoiler warning, I only have 2 thoughts. And with that, let's get into the spoilers. I knew there was something wrong with that sandwich. I had no idea what it was. I thought she might have put something nasty in it, like extra mince or something, but I was pretty shocked to realize, oh wait, that's Bear's cat. And then that part towards the end where Ian asks for $1 billion when Bear is trying to, get him to make a wish for him reminds me of like That's a Bad Idea sketch. So there's a couple of other moments. That's just an example of a scene that really reminds me of That's a Bad Idea types of sketches. So honestly, those are my thoughts. I would love to know your opinion on Obsession if you've seen it, if you're gonna see it if you haven't yet. And with that, honestly, that's all I have to say. Bye.